Should you build or buy a gaming PC right now? Is it a bad time? Are you wasting your money? Well, the truth is, it depends. There are so many different price points and factors to consider. Stock availability issues, and then of course the new releases from AMD, Intel and Nvidia. So if you are wanting to buy yourself a gaming PC, hold fire for 5 minutes and let me explain everything that you need to know. After a short word from this video's sponsor. The Gigabyte Aorus 17 is a gaming powerhouse, coming equipped with Intel's latest 12th gen i7 processors, up to an RTX 3080 Ti graphics card, crazy fast Intel Wi-Fi 6E, and a stupendous 360Hz IPS display. Learn a little bit more and get yours today, hit the link in the description below. Let's start with the ugly. Why is now a bad time to build a gaming PC? Well, the most obvious reason is that we're now at the end of the product cycle for graphics cards, and Nvidia is about to announce the 4000 series of GPUs. This will bring players significantly higher frame rates in games, and provide a huge jump in performance across the board. We saw this with the launch of the RTX 3080 a couple of years ago. I mean, this one I've actually taken apart. It's actually there. And it's not just an increase in raw performance that we're likely to see, we're going to have new features, but I think for me, the fundamental thing is hopefully we're finally going to get graphics cards that you can turn ray tracing on without your whole frame rate tanking. I think they're going to be a lot better equipped to deal with those workloads. It's not only Nvidia that are getting into the game. AMD and Intel are also due to drop their discrete GPUs very soon, with AMD competing with Nvidia's big guns and Intel looking to disrupt the more budget end of the market. Expect announcements in the late summer and cards to land in the autumn. This in itself would be more than enough reason to wait a few months, but the good news doesn't end there. There's more processors too. This time it's AMD leading the charge with AM5 motherboards and new Ryzen CPUs. They'll adopt a similar core count as before, but this time with more single-core performance for higher gaming frame rates. I've already spoken about this in a separate video, which you can find in the top right corner of your screen, but essentially this is going to be a platform upgrade for those with older systems that want features like PCI Generation 5 and DDR5 memory. Something you might not be aware of though is the predicted upcoming crypto crash, and this one is a huge deal for PC gamers. Crypto has seen a fair old price dip recently, and as with the stock market, this is a time when a lot of the miners will tend to dump their cards into the used marketplace for better liquidity, which is just a cool way of saying they have more cash on hand. I'm trying to make myself sound smart, but we all know that's not the case. Couple this with the fact that GPU mining for Ethereum could be replaced as early as August, and suddenly an influx of used graphics cards might enter the market all at once. This finally means we would see affordable gaming return to more normal levels, and the effectiveness of price gouging and scalping would be massively reduced. And not only will you have new GPUs, CPUs, and potentially lower pricing, but the second half of the year always sees new cases, coolers, SSDs, pretty much everything. So if you do want to have the full choice and properly eliminate buyer's remorse, then clearly the best option is going to be to wait. Or is it? Allow me to introduce you to Alternative View, Marcus! Ha ha ha! The joke is that we're using a different camera angle and I've put a jacket and a hat on in case you hadn't noticed. And I'm here to say that now is actually a brilliant time to build. You see, June is a sunny ass month. It's warm, people are outside, days are long, and PC gaming just ain't on the radar. This is when we see hardware sales start to dwindle, and manufacturers do start cutting prices. We've already seen this in my build videos, with special offers on parts that make them a steal, especially SSDs and RAM. I bet you'd love a new graphics card too, wouldn't you? Well, if you buy now, you can actually get one. Take a look for yourself. RTX cards are all back in stock at more or less the right prices, so if you do need a graphics card, you can actually get one. This has taken almost 2 years to get to this stage, and while we hopefully won't see another global lockdown, I'd put the odds of stock shortages for next gen as high as 95%. It is going to be very tricky to get something at launch. And as for next gen CPUs, do you even need one? You're probably looking at about a 10% performance increase, but are you even CPU limited? Unless you're playing at 1080p, 240Hz? Chances are every game you play will be restricted by the graphics card and not the processor, so grabbing a new CPU wouldn't even help. Sure, there are outliers, especially at the high end, but it always pays to know what your limiting factor is and upgrade sensibly. Still not convinced? Well, have you seen the prices of this recently? DDR5 memory? It's insane! DDR4 is cheaper than it's ever been, while the next gen stuff is essentially double the cost. And the funny thing is, at the time of filming, it doesn't even help your frame rate either. My tests showed DDR5 and DDR4 trading blows in every single thing that I threw at it. And it's exactly the same thing with PCIe Generation 5. New SSDs are indeed coming, but they're likely to be so expensive, and if my Gen 4 tests are anything to go by, you won't even be able to tell the difference for gaming anyway. You can even apply this to those new parts that Marcus talked about earlier. New cases, coolers, do you even care? And even if you did, new prices for new products are always going to be higher than ones that have been out for a year or two and manufacturers are just trying to shift. New products just carry more demand and there's less reason to sell it cheap. And speaking of cheap, don't expect any new budget cards from AMD or Nvidia anytime soon. The RTX 3050 and the RX 6500 have only just arrived, so the chances of these being released any sooner than 2023 is extremely unlikely. And again, these aren't even going to be cheap, even if the crypto crash does spice things up a little bit. Okay, those are both of the arguments then, but who's right? Who should you listen to? And ultimately, what should you do? Well, unfortunately, I'm not equipped to answer that, so let me hand you over to someone that knows a little bit more than me. Perfectly balanced, Marcus. It's me. All jokes aside, it honestly is a really tricky one, and actually both Marcuses are correct. The art is knowing exactly what it is that you need and ultimately how quickly you need it. If you must have something more or less right now, then feel free to buy it because waiting will always have some caveats. But if you are looking to upgrade to a whole new system, then it does get a tad more complicated. The graphics card should always be your priority for a gaming PC, and with new ones right around the corner, I would definitely advise hanging on and waiting a bit to actually see if you can get hold of one of the new ones or pick up an older generation one at a lower cost. However, if you are looking at spending £300 or less, then you should be aware that you're probably not going to see graphics cards that fit into this price bracket till at least Christmas time, so if you are going to wait, you're going to be waiting a while. You have to bear in mind that stock shortages are inevitable, because there is a huge backlog of PC gamers waiting for these parts. And while stock levels will be better than last time, we will get a repeat order of 2022, at least for a while. As for AM5 and the new AMD things, then honestly, I think if you're looking to build a new high-end system, then it is worth waiting. But pretty much for the mid-range and below, I wouldn't actually say it is worth waiting because the price of DDR5 memory is just going to make it pretty uneconomical for most people. You're going to be waiting at least a year or so for the prices of the RAM to become a little bit more normal. My advice is shop the web. Find as many deals as you can for SSDs, coolers, cases, and anything that you love right now, as prices on these will only increase, and there's no real need to wait for more expensive product launches. Obviously, buying new is the safest way of buying PC components, but I assure you there are always deals to be had if you know where to look. I've actually got a video coming up, I think in a couple of days' time, where I've built a full used PC, pretty much from scratch. It was a really fun one, you're gonna love it, get subscribed so you don't miss it. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this whole debacle. Are you looking to upgrade to next-gen CPUs, GPUs, DDR5? I don't know, let me know, I'd love to hear from you. But smash that like button if you've enjoyed this, get yourself subscribed, and as always, if you do want to check out any sort of PC builds or parts I'd recommend, I've got a long list of them in the description below. Have a browse at those and find yourself a great deal. And links for the incredible Gigabyte Aorus 17. This machine packs in 14 cores of CPU power for sky-high frame rates with options to suit every gamer's needs and budget. You've got DDR5 or DDR4 memory, Thunderbolt 4 and the WindForce Infinity cooling system. Learn a little bit more and get yours today with the link down below. But thank you so much for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.